Good morning, you listen to FloorDaily.net, and I'm Kim Parr. This morning, my guest is Catherine Minervini with Green Owl Studio. Catherine, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Kemp. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to talk to you. You're at the HD Expo in Las Vegas, and I want to get your take on the show. I appreciate you agreeing to be our floor-focused correspondent this morning. First, let's get the listeners caught up, Catherine, that you've been focused in marketing primarily in flooring for a good part of your career. I think you spent 12 years involved with, it was Bentley Prince Street at the time, which is now Bentley Mills. And you left there, 4 or 5 years ago, and now you have your own shingle called Green Owl Studio based in L.A., and you work for many different companies. Some of them are flooring, and you give marketing consulting work, right?
Yes, that's correct. My clients include flooring brands to flooring contractors, work with the Fuse Alliance Group, as well as some furniture companies now.
All right, so let's talk about the show. I know you go every year. Tell us, how does this feel versus other shows, and what kind of energy is there?
Well, this year the energy has definitely increased a little bit. I think over the past few years it's been increasingly getting better and better and a little bit more energetic, and everyone seems to be very excited, and a lot of the booths were buzzing.
Yeah, I did an interview yesterday with David Duncan with Mohawk, and he was talking about the fact that he's feeling good about where the business was. So I guess the hospitality sector continues to grow and is healthy, and so there's a lot of smiles on people's faces at the show.
Yes, for sure. In general, people seem a little excited about the products. There's one of the things that I noticed is a lot of the booths and the showroom spaces are a little bit more focused on color this year, and I always think that that's representative of what might be going on in the industry overall. So that's always a good sign. There's a lot brighter colors. I was even in the social hub yesterday, and that was designed even nicer than it was last year. They were giving away the IIDA HD Awards, and there was just a good overall vibe.
Well, tell us a little bit about what you're seeing there as far as products and trends.
There's a few things that I saw. I know metallics have continued to have an influence on products. That was pretty evident this year as well. They seem a little bit more incorporated, even more so, and making their way into some of the other products around the show. So, for instance, even in fixtures, there's a lot more variety. For a long time, it was stainless steel and the metals, obviously, but this year they're taking it a little bit further with some of the matte finishes and the titanium finishes, and mixing a lot of gold with black, a lot of matte black. So I thought that was interesting. And then when you cross over into some of the flooring products or wall covering products, just metallics as in oxidized metals, golds, a little bit more richer tones, and carrying across some of the earth tones with the brighter metallics. And I thought that was a really interesting trend. The hexagon is still making its way into patterns, whether it's in flooring or tile, a lot of the hard surface. I saw a few hard surface ceramic porcelain and porcelain tiles on the floor. Not only were they hexagon shaped, but they were also taking on the concrete look, which also tends to continue to make its way into the flooring products. A lot of hard surface, as you know, LVT is growing, but also the wood looks are continuing to be pretty influential. And I think what's really interesting about the wood looks is that the textures are being taken a little further. So in other words, we're not just looking at a wood look, but we're looking at a variety of different types of wood looks, or wood looks with new textures incorporated into them. I saw some really interesting things at Arizona Tile. So those were some of the things that we've been seeing, but are just a little bit more nuanced now.
Now, this show is at the Mandalay Bay, right?
Yes.
Is it about the same size as it's been in the years past?
It might be a little bit bigger this year. I have seen a couple of smaller brands popping up around. Of course, all the larger companies are around, but there are some smaller brands. I'm also working with a company called Sandler Seating, and they're really focused on a lot of European design. So I think that's another trend that we're seeing, is a lot more influence from global brands that are coming to the U.S. market, since it is a healthier market, and we're seeing a lot more influence, especially in furniture. I think a lot of the furniture has a very modern look to it, which really works nicely with a lot of the finishes that are out there. Again, in flooring and carpet, we're seeing a lot of layered looks going on. They're very strong. Durkin has a lot of amazing large-scale patterns that are very rich with texture. They look really beautiful with some of these more modern flavors that are coming over from Europe and some of what we're seeing in furniture. Shaw Hospitality had some really beautiful patterns that focused on warm and cool metallic tones, which I thought were very interesting. So there's a really nice blend and mix of different products that are out there and how they play with each other. And I think a lot of what's driving that, too, is that designers today are really working on projects around the globe. And so from their perspective, they're really asking manufacturers and brands to bring this level of design and quality to meet their needs. And I think that's really driving a lot of what's happening as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, most people know this show is manufacturers come here, and there's two audiences. There's the people who own the hotels, properties, the facility managers, and there's also the A&D and design perspective. And there's probably a lot of entertainment going on. Were there any noteworthy parties that have popped up that are worth talking about?
There's the infamous HD pool party, which that happens tonight, Thursday night, and that always draws a really big crowd. And I think a lot of the bigger brands are having some big parties as usual, magic shows and all kinds of Vegas-inspired theme parties. So that's always a big treat when you come to Vegas.
That's right. Okay, Catherine, well, I appreciate the review of this show. It's great to talk to you. Again, been talking to Catherine Minervini, who is the principal with Green Owl Studio based in L.A., and you've been listening to Kempar and FloorDaily.net.